Good evening and welcome on in to the evening edition of From Day One, the Part B edition. Normally our frauditors, auditors, subsets would be ready to rock and roll us through the Dominion. However, tonight we will begin with a court case, which had normally had been pushed to Part 1, but we've done all the other portions of this court case here previous to doing the transfer over. So I figured it's only fair that we do it here. And it is the conclusion to the Dog Days saga. The final one, the final ruling from Judge Simpson. For those who maybe need just a quick little memory jog, the Dog Days scenario is where the city was going ahead and prosecuting a lady for mistreating of dog animals. In pops a male who wants to fight, saying that the dogs are his instead, subjecting himself to the felony charges instead, when definitely did not need to do so. And we've had trials and testimony and more testimony and more testimony. Tonight we get to the payoff. The final decision, who is the dogs and who, as a result, will be getting the felony. So with that, let's head to Judge Simpson's courtroom so we can have the conclusion. Of course, along with us, as always, is Mike from Law Talk with Mike.
Bernstein is now here. Counsel, state your appearances, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. The prosecutor, Victoria Bird, here on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Sam Rose, not behalf of this all matters.
Good morning, Your Honor.
And that last attorney is the stupid attorney of question, fighting to try to get her client, the male, in on this case, which would get him those felonies.
Right. We're specifically dealing initially in the case of the people of the state of Michigan versus Catherine Null, that being the civil action, which is going to have some bearing on the felonies that have been filed in the court's decision, and based upon Ms. Null's motion to enforce the order regarding the surrender of the animal. I will put it this way because I don't want the same argument that this court has spent hours hearing. Is there any additional argument on behalf of the people?
No, the people, Your Honor.
Mr. Bernstein, it is your motion. Is there any additional argument?
None on behalf of this one, Your Honor.
Ms. Dunn, is there any additional argument?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Well, apparently her name is Miss Dunn. At least that's who I think it is, the wacky animal attorney. And I was shocked and floored when I first saw this. This was this morning, by the way, and I edited it down for you. But I was shocked and amazed that she did not argue here. She's not intervened on the case. She has no business arguing here, but that hasn't stopped her in the past.
No, it hasn't.
On this matter in the court, and again, this involves the specific order which was entered by the court previously, and the respondent knows request that order be enforced and that order remain in place. The court had executed that order after I will describe as a lengthy hearing, which ultimately resulted in a settlement between the parties. Suffice it to say that the fundamental issue, which was then raised based upon a cease and desist letter which was sent to the Humane Society, was the issue of ownership of these dogs. That is, as it regards all of the other 20 cases that have been filed, is central to
20?
that as to who the owner is in this case and who would have the authority to surrender the animals as Ms. Null has done in this case. And Mr. Miller has come, albeit late to the game in certain respects, and objected, claiming that he has some ownership interest. As indicated, there's no dispute that Ms. Knoll claims ownership, either in full or in part, and has surrendered those rights to the Huron Valley Humane Society. Mr. Miller's posture in this case is a bit circumspect in certain respects because he is not a party that has properly intervened in this Knoll matter, but has had an opportunity to the extent that it may implicate some due process rights to address the court on numerous occasions and to participate in these proceedings. It would indicate that while counsel for Mr. Miller claims that the statements to the court were made, the statements that Mr. Miller made to the court were made without his knowledge of the dog law of 1919. With all due respect, the court does find that these arguments are without merit. Certainly the court believes that those arguments are disingenuous and they border on spurious.
Disingenuous, bordering on spurious.
Not good.
That might be a new t-shirt.
Given that
I'd buy one.
a child knows whether they own something
Or not.
Possess, or have the right to possess something, they know whether or not something is theirs. They don't need a lawyer. They don't need a statute to tell them otherwise. Even if ultimately their conclusion of that may be wrong, certainly the statements they make are clear as to their indication and to their status. As I've alluded to before in numerous hearings regarding the dog law of 1919, where it has been raised that there is this definition of ownership. And I've alluded to the fact that that statute specifically relates to the responsibility of those that have dogs. It is an old statute.
Yes, it is.
Also, this court doesn't believe under any circumstances stands for the proposition that the respondent Miller, defendant Miller, is proposing. Without even necessarily going into the legislative history behind that statute where a court doesn't need to where it's clear. And while the introductory language is not certainly part of the statute, it does clearly point out what the purpose of that legislation was. Read it specifically. It says an act relating to dogs and the protection of livestock and poultry from damage by dogs, providing for the licensing, regulating the keeping of dogs, authorizing their destruction in certain cases, providing for the determination and payment of damages done by dogs to livestock, poultry, imposing powers and duties on certain state, county, city, township officers and employees, and to repeal a previous public act provision, and then providing penalties for violations of the act. And that's the introductory portion of the statute. The statute then goes on to provide definitions, talk about licensure, leashing of the dogs, and the like. It does not, as Defendant Miller indicates, specifically address how to resolve the issue of ownership. It's not designed to do that. It is designed, particularly with regard to its definition of ownership, to provide for remedies against people who are in violation of the act, where damage is done, where they don't license, where they don't leash the dog, and the like. It does nothing to establish true ownership of the dogs. As I've indicated, that statute really just places regulations and certain burdens on those who may have and or possess dogs. Frankly, this case, as regards ownership, is more akin to an ever-increasing concept that is coming forth in our courts regarding dog custody and divorce cases. Who owns the dog? Whose dog is it? And in reviewing numerous cases, courts have used certain criteria to determine, outside of what might be love and affection, because I'm not really deciding a custody issue, I'm deciding ownership. But in terms of ownership, whose dog it is, the courts have used various things. They've used veterinary records. They've used spay-neuter records. They've used other care records, which may be if the dogs are taken to groomers, who takes them to the groomers. Those who have done things either in writing or otherwise that show indicia of their ownership. In this case,
sounds perfectly
the one
sane.
is looking at ownership of the dogs. Everything provided to this court in terms of the spay and neuter records of the Huron Valley Humane Society, where the animals were taken for their rabies shots, as well as spay and neutering services, clearly and unequivocally indicate that the owner of the dogs, as listed, is Miss Mill. The records regarding licensure with the county, of which the rabies vaccine records would have had to have been provided, indicate that in regard to the 4 dogs that are present here, or that are at issue here, are Miss Null. She explained certainly that she did it, but those are the records that are in front of the court. Every piece of paper, every bit of documentary evidence regarding the dogs at issue in this case are all in Miss Null's name. I guess in certain respects it just is what it is. That's where they are. There has been some indication that since they live together, that there is some type of joint ownership. Well, I guess people could live together and maybe there could be joint ownership, but there are also people could live together and the dogs belong to one party and not the other party. But I'm not here to even decide that issue. I'm here to decide who are the owners. Most importantly, however, well, not most important, when I take those particular items, all of the documentary evidence indicating that Miss Null is the owner, and that up to the point that the order was signed, there was no indication to the court to the contrary. And I think that's important to point out, because anything that came out to the contrary was as a result of Mr. Miller and his cease and desist letter that I would note it was really the first time that this court, and this was a day or so after the order was signed, where he indicated, tended to indicate that he was the owner of these animals. But one has to look at the documentary evidence along with what are Mr. Miller's statements prior to the order. I will say that prior to the order, somewhat truthful statements, somewhat not on behalf of Mr. Miller. Certainly at the time of the hearing, there were statements that, quite frankly, in this court's mind, were all self-serving. In certain respects, it is very difficult to give much of what the testimony of Mr. Miller stated any credibility. And by way of example, Mr. Miller made a representation to the court because at the hearing that occurred on March 22nd, his fundamental focus was about animals on the property. And he made a specific representation to the court that he was the owner of the property. And was attempting to object on those grounds. It was later determined that Mr. Miller isn't the owner of that property at all. And frankly, although it's not called upon at this time for this court to rule on it, would have no standing to even raise the issue, at least not in the way in which it was attempted to be raised before the court. But going back to my main point, I have the registration, I have the vet record, I have everything indicating that Miss Null is the owner. Even the Miss Null entering into the agreement on that date, where she, if not specifically, certainly by implication, represents in court that she has the authority to do this. Mr. Miller on that date, and I would direct the parties to page 105, specifically his statements, Mr. Miller's statements to the court, and I'm referring to line 7 through 10. Mr. Miller very clearly states, I don't know about the forfeiture. I hate to see the animals put down, Your Honor. And then says unequivocally, I am willing to surrender those animals, but I cannot accept. I just, as the property owner, I cut him off with sir. And then Mr. Miller continues, I can't. And then I said, sir, I'm not asking. And he says, okay. And then I indicate, continuing on with my previous of not asking anybody to accept anything. Mr. Miller goes, okay. Then told him about a resolution of the case. What was very clear to the court is he was talking about, because he goes on further to talk about what he perceived as limitations on it. It's clear what he's talking about. And that was his focus, sir. But his statement saying, I'm willing to surrender those animals, is just not some statement he made out of the blue. He understood exactly what he was saying to the court in that regard. Or to not, one fast forwards in the transcript to page 113. And again, as I've indicated, Mr. Miller's claim regarding ownership or entitlement in these animals was not raised till after this hearing. But on page 113, starting at line 6, with Mr. Miller's statements, as he's addressing the court, he says, quote, Your Honor, those are her dogs, and she has that decision. It's not my decision about that. He then goes on, as I am indicating further down, starting at line 10, just says, just asking about my property. I don't think, ladies and gentlemen, it gets any clearer regarding who owns these dogs. Despite any self-serving statements that may come up afterwards, it was clear certainly on that day. And then in the subsequent hearings where the court received the evidence, things that had occurred prior to that day regarding whose name was on all the records for the dogs, that the owner of those dogs, Miss Null, would then be this court's ruling that as to her ability to enter into that agreement, to agree to surrender those 4 animals to the Humane Society of Huron Valley, her authority to enter into other terms that were contained within that agreement regarding certain limitations on her regarding the ownership of animals, that Ms. Null had absolute authority to do so. I would also know, while not part of the record, but the court was watching the proceedings, and I think it bear noting, that the court, and I think Mr. Bernstein had indicated this, that the court had provided a room so that all of the parties could talk. And prior to the statements made by Mr. Miller, that Mr. Miller was here present in court, had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Null regarding what she was doing, which may have been the reason he led to, that in part led to his state. He knew exactly what was going on. It wasn't until afterwards that he did. It wasn't until after that fact that, quite frankly, Ms. Null's statements to the court and other things changed slightly. I will give Mr. Bernstein all the credit in the world for reconciling those before this court. And I think that he's done a great job in doing so. But it still does not change this court's mind And the court is very clearly pointing out in this decision that as to Defendant Null's motion to enforce that order, the court is going to grant that motion. That order will be enforced. The court is specifically ordering that these dogs have properly been surrendered by their owner to the Huron Valley Humane Society.
So he's giving his ruling, and it's pretty clear. But don't worry. Wacky Dog Attorney does find a way to interject herself into this situation.
Really?
But those dogs are now the property of that facility by virtue of the owner's agreement and my order that no one shall, without any other higher court order, interfere with that, and that the disposition of those animals and the proper disposition, whether it be adoption or otherwise, rest within the sound and sole discretion of the new owners of those dogs, the Huron Valley Humane Society. Counsel for the defendant will prepare that order, indicating those last terms. Counsel for Ms. Null will prepare that order. And that is the entire ruling of the court.
Clarification, that order will be entered under all case numbers?
It will be entered on the case number in which the court is ruling.
Shut up.
That's subtle, but the level of stupid is high. That's Wacky Animal Attorney asking if this is on all the case numbers. He's got a motion on a civil case, and he called it. There's one case. It's the civil case, and he's granting the motion, saying that the agreement shall be enforced. Okay. That question just shows she is clueless. First of all, she's not intervened. She's not in on this case. And then she asked a question on all case numbers. No, the criminal matters haven't been called. And if you're an attorney, you should kind of know that. And
yeah, you should.
He isn't too bad about it, but you can see how irritated Judge Simpson is, even by the question.
The court is ruling on a specific motion that was filed by Mr. Bernstein on behalf of Ms. Null in her case. That is the order that will be entered.
I have it under the two civil case numbers and the two felony case numbers. Okay. Karen, I'd like to bring up under MCR 2.6.4, there's an automatic state provision. I understand the
automatic state provision on what?
On effectuating or executing of the judgment or order. State in 21 days from the time the appeal of rights.
Counsel, you can read the rule anywhere you'd like. I'm not staying any order.
It's an automatic state. I'm not asking you to.
Then I don't know why you're addressing me.
Then another shut the fuck up.
I don't know about the provision. There might be an automatic stay in the provision. There might not. It's some obscure Michigan stuff. I don't care. But first she requests a stay of the order, and then he says, I'm not granting it. And she said, well, it's automatic. And he says, okay, why are you asking me then?
Good answer.
Oh, it's good.
Second issue is that Mr. Miller decides to take an appeal. There's a second stay that must be issued. Would the court like me to address that now, or should I file it?
I'm not issuing a stay, so you may address it if you like, but I'm not issuing a stay of my order.
Okay, and that would be the stay beyond the 21 days.
You need to file a motion regarding the stay, counsel.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be directed now. Will be a motion.
You know that, so I don't know why you're still addressing.
Because she's an idiot, Your Honor.
To do it orally, so
I am not. I want a written motion.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So she's still addressing you
regard to
because
the
she's
other
stupid, Your Honor.
matters, I will, because of this order, I will adjourn those matters, the felony matters. I'm not asking the people to do anything on that. Pending the final resolution of everything, I will adjourn those matters out to May 31st. I will also, and I do appreciate York Township being ready, but again, some of it's going to depend on what happens on the other thing. I will adjourn those matters also to May 31st. Unless there's an objection.
And Speaker, the township or the people have no objection to that remain here?
Mr. Bernstein, any objection to the court in that regard?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Those matters are adjourned to 31st.
Let's get out of my courtroom.
Well, there you have it. He gave his ruling. I didn't have a lot to say about it. And the only thing that was funny is when the attorney piped in at the end with some really bad, arguments. First of all, she's not of record in the case. She shouldn't be talking at all. But he does while he's saying that, say, well, they have arguably some interest in an equitable sense. So he's being indulgent letting her speak at all. But that sort of ends the case. All these cases were on this special time. I don't know why this one was this morning. And they're going to enforce the prior agreement. So everything that she came in and did and whipped up and got her client to say that he's the owner, that's not happening. And we're just going back to as if none of that occurred and proceeding with the order as previously ordered. That's it. That's what's going on. He makes the finding that he is not the owner. That implicit in that is all the criminal charges against Mr. Miller will be dropped. So despite his horrible testimony and his attorney's horrible idea of claiming ownership of the dogs, he still stays out of trouble here. There are pending criminal actions against her. It looks like all that's set over till the 31st. I guess technically they're pending against him as well, but they're going to go if the court's making the finding that he's not the owner. So I still don't know what the resolution on the criminal charges will be for her, and I don't know if that will be on the call. I just don't know, but it looks like it's May 31st that it's all set over for. He probably wants to give a little time for this to shake out. She might file some appeal or something, but I doubt it. She tried to make an oral motion to stay. Of course you wouldn't. That's an intricate matter of law. Any judge would say no. Put that in writing so I can tell you with specificity why it's silly. But that's it. I felt compelled. I got pulled into the dog days, and then once we had this, although it didn't have super funny moments or anything, I felt compelled to show it because when people follow it, they want to see the conclusion, and that's the conclusion. While there's still collateral stuff going on, basically that ends the major issues in the case. So I appreciate it. I put that together. I was over on Legal Bites earlier. Early this morning, I went on there twice today. That trails a whole situation. So, I just wanted to get this in today because it happened today, and we've been following it here. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Hope to see you more times over on our Part A. Alright, so let's actually get to our regular substance and Karens that we normally have. And for an auditor, this is why you shouldn't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
Guys,
okay.
K-Farm back again. Once again.
1 second, K-Farm, we'll get ready for you. Don't do drugs. Okay. Alright, let's rock.
It's not gonna work, buddy! I know, but just put the knife down! No! Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
Damn it, Jimmy.
Jimmy is on the roof of the house with a knife.
No! Look at you, 10-3. Somebody has a flex for you.
Jimmy is a ninja, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah, keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on him. Don't do it. Get down. Still there. Come on. Get down. Get down. Come on. Don't throw that brick. Don't throw the brick. Get back. Don't over. Get on that side of the house. I already asked for that. Just stay on that side of the house.
I'm gonna have to use my right to travel. Maybe not.
Slow down. Just stay right there.
Lost sight of Jimmy.
There's Jimmy.
Just stay right there. All I want to do is help you. All I want to do is help you. Get inside the house. Get inside the house. Just stay right there.
Idiots are coming out to watch this. That's why the cops are trying to yell to get back in the house.
Hey, dude, I'm gonna need the flex on the east side of the residence. He's on a tree. Trying to get down. No, hey, how can we help you?
Can we kill him?
There's someone in the backyard. Go inside the house and lock the door.
Did the idiot just yell, "Kill me"?
Hey, you gotta stay back. Hey, bring me water. Hey, you want a water? Hey, officer. Hey, stop. You want a water? Yes, agua.
That's water in Spanish, by the way, for those who don't know.
Hey, do you want some water? Stay right there, buddy. Can I help you? Let me get you some water. Just stay right. Hold on, buddy. We're trying to get you some help. Look at you. He's coming off the wall. Let's start matching him stand up.
This officer knows where the logical conclusion is
Don't
going.
do that, buddy. She'll be full. Jaime, we're not gonna hurt you. Jaime, we're not gonna hurt you. Well, they're gonna turn the end. Go that way. Go that way. Huh?
There's Sparky.
You done? Turn on your gut now. Turn on your gut. Turn it out. Get down. Stay down. Get down.
God damn, this boy's moving a lot even with the... Yeah, he's back standing! Some people, I guess, the Sparky is not workable. That boy was still moving even with Sparky.
Alright, so we're going to stop it there.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot to unpack there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so clearly, don't get on your roof. Don't threaten the cops with a knife. Don't then find a brick and throw it at said cops. Don't climb into a tree like Bigfoot and start whacking everything down. Oh, don't climb on top of a wall and try to run away from the police. Once tased, don't continue resisting. And then death roll like a crocodile. And then get back up like the taser doesn't affect you. And lastly, the biggest mistake by the officer and by Jimmy the Ninja here, the officer put his thumb, he might have been grabbing his shirt right there and it just slid up. Somehow his thumb ended up in this dude's mouth, and his first instinct is, how can I make this situation worse? I'm going to try to bite the officer's thumb off, which is actually the second biting of a thumb that I've done on this video, which apparently is a
I
lot
missed
more
that
common
part.
than I thought. He looked like he calmed down after about the 13th trigger pull of the taser. Yeah, don't do dumb shit. I think that's the transformative part of this video for me. Yeah, don't do any of the things that I just mentioned, and you won't get tased. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. It's a little bit longer than KFAR Shorts.
Thank you very much, Kay. K. We like K. Alright, so let's find out what else we got. Really don't want another goddamn post office, though. We've had way too many of those. Way too many of those. Let's do this one. We have it entitled, Karen.
You're going to pretend like you don't know what happened to me?
I don't know what happened.
Even though the police department continued to investigate me when they had no right. Alright, I think we lost you.
No, we're not going to go inside, ma'am.
You know my name.
She tried to walk into a bar.
You just need to walk? Yeah. Here we go.
Is that the drunk Karen's mating call? Oh, that was just like a few seconds. Okay. Now, courtesy of friends over at Code Blue, let's get to today's Karen. On August 11, 2021, La Crosse police was dispatched to downtown bar for trouble at a party. The complainant advised that a woman was inside the bar, intoxicated, attacking a bunch of people, and refusing to leave. The woman was identified as Christina Rabbit, the wife of a former La Crosse mayor, Tom Cabot. And that's where we begin.
Okay, I just woke up. Yeah, it's just like you don't know nothing. Bitch is crazy. No, she's literally been here.
I like the cop walks in, first thing he says is, that bitch is crazy. Yeah.
What do you mean? She's like, am I really a cop? I don't call my fish. She said, hey, husband's the mayor, and I think are all ready tonight, and you're not. And she said, you're, what did she say? They don't like you because you're black here. This is the racist. I said, I've been coming across. Can I get my cigar back? Mercy goes home. Are you enjoying? I told you don't inhale it.
French boy, French girl.
Yeah.
No.
Merci beaucoup.
Literally, she is. She's 10 kids. You all. Yeah.
Just, yeah, maybe take her and take us to the next city over. Like they do it.
She, I mean,
No, you know, you want to know what I get out of it? No,
okay.
seriously, like, okay.
Yeah, we will,
These are just some witnesses before the cop actually gets to the drunk person.
No.
Earlier that day, police were dispatched to a different bar and more contact with the individual, Karen. She was also heavily intoxicated during that incident and refused to leave that bar until police were called. So we have documented situation of this Karen being, well, Karen.
They say you go to hell, right?
Was it always like this? So I try to go, it's your reason, buddy. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of the boys. I run the Fredo. I mean,
last year, Cabot was arrested after a confrontation with a van driver during a Black Lives Matter demonstration downtown. Oh, so not only is she inebriated as fuck, she's racist as fuck. Not looking good for you, Karen.
Would you give her?
Blow it out.
In the
Practice.
We'll get her. I believe you. We will make that happen.
When police arrived, Cabot advised that she again was unaware, just as earlier, situation that police were called to the scene.
Look it up, please. Who's this guy?
He's a murderer.
You know what happened to me.
If I be honest, if I be quite honest with you,
You know what happened to me. I'm 10.
Yeah, but no, this is
I don't know what happened.
Where have you been?
Like just now or
Did
like
you
my
just
whole
get
life?
here?
No, I was talking to other people.
No, you just got into a cross this year?
No, we had dinner together over at the Turbo like 6 years ago.
And you're going to pretend like you don't know what happened to me?
I know who I don't know what happened to you. I don't know what that has any bearing.
She informed police that she believes the city of La Crosse is out to get her and her husband. Oh, so she's inebriated, racist, and quite delusional. A good combination, Karen.
Bearing on tonight's situation. What happened tonight?
Can you explain to him? This town is going to shut Tim and I down everywhere we go because of what happened to me. Because the police department said that I did something wrong. All these white fucking motherfuckers are saying that I did something wrong.
Okay.
Hey, I'm the one that curses on the show.
Department dropped all the charges. Even though the police department continued to investigate me when they had no right.
So what does it have to do with tonight?
Nothing. I don't even know who called the police.
So,
You should go ask them.
So they've already told me. They
What'd
said
they
that you
say?
were pushing people and touching people and trying to push people off their stools and acting disorderly. So
Well, you wouldn't believe them. This is the guy right here. Let's go talk to him. Come on.
no, we're not.
Hey, tell me what you think about me.
I didn't touch you once.
When I pushed you off your bar stool, right?
You never know. I never said that.
That was the other guy you pushed
on the car when the car owner told me to get out.
John's always been good to me.
No, that's my God. I put you on that place. I'm not a company. Sorry, I think he was.
Then she called me about your name.
A man said that Amanda said that he encouraged Cabot several times to leave the bar as she was not listening to the owners, who asked her to get the fuck out.
And they tried to run at me, but I fell. But then got back up. She never touched me, I never touched her. But she was verbally.
It was stated that she verbally abused and started fights with many people inside the bar.
To get the hell out of the bar. I encourage you to listen to that, as she said, for you to encourage me to tell you that. Because, well, she is unnecessary that. The bar was trying to get her out of the bar because she was overly intoxicated and they didn't want her anymore. And she wasn't listening and she started fighting.
The man also said that before police were called, she sat down in the middle of the bar and began acting like a child, kicking and screaming. Oh, fuck, Karen, come on.
For people, and then she was being aggressive with people. I was in there the entire time. It was horrible. And then she sat down in the middle of the bar and acted like a child. And when she was acting like a child, when the bar owner was yelling at her, I was like, yeah, just get up and get the fuck out. Like, just go. Like, you can go now and there's no problem for you guys or anybody. You can just go home. But unfortunately, if she wanted to choose this, well, yeah. And I mean, I worked out that application. I've done it all. You've seen it all. Yeah. She needs to go. I don't care where she goes. I don't care where the fuck she goes. But she needs to go.
No, we're not going to go inside, ma'am.
She's trying to go back in the bar now.
Know my name. You going there? Oh, you're just gonna accept that? We're gonna be able to treat me like this as long as I have hair? This?
How are we treating?
You're here. I did nothing wrong because they called the police out because they're white fucking.
What was the other?
Same thing, almost to a T.
Same person. You know what I told him? I said I'm not leaving until the police come.
No, don't talk to them, okay?
Alright, you just hang up for a second.
We were fighting anybody, but we've been escalating. So that one was, why are you at the bar? The police got there. This one, the gentleman said that she was trying to verbally attack you with people off bar stools. Didn't necessarily come at him, he just tripped and found and tried to move away from her. So it looked like he attacked her, but he never touched her. everything's great for a while. We didn't do anything like now.
This guy's are here because
We'll
that
go,
guy, the whites in the car like
I'll
this.
grab
I'm
the
not
guy
working.
that I talked on him and wait.
I just want
Yeah, so I'll grab my other guy's info. I'll write. I just remember talking to you, and then all of a sudden, you're gone. Yeah,
I just like to put in a good word for that lady right there. She's an okay lady.
She's okay?
Yeah, she's an okay lady.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I just want to put in a good word for her. But, whoa, what the fuck was that? I do this shit.
Why you push me?
And I ain't even with nowhere.
We'll take it.
I still.
Yep.
Actually, I don't feel safe in the
Those
city anymore.
Out of hand. Yeah.
What's more is, if something happens to me
This
tonight,
is my job, bro. Bro, this is what you know that. Yeah. I swear to God, nigga.
You're good.
Bro,
you saw this called you a
I
nigga.
do this shit, bro.
Ma'am, is it okay if we talk over here for a second?
I do this shit for real, for real.
You come over here and talk to me. And my name is Christina, and you know me.
I'm just
Don't
calling you
call me
ma'am.
man.
Why?
Thank you.
Christina.
Did I
Okay,
ask you
Christina.
that?
Wait a minute. I know you guys can't see this because we're audio, but she just paid off the black guy she had go to the cop and say that the girl is an alright person in front of the cops. She pulled cash out of her purse and paid the guy off in front of the cops. Oh, fuck.
Is it okay if we talk over here, Christina?
No, I don't know what
Oh,
you're talking
fuck.
about, but I'm pretty sure you can do it right here. And I'm
So unfortunately, you do have to go to jail tonight, okay?
Wait, let me put...
Yeah, that's just due to her behavior rapidly escalating throughout the night and through the prior call, police made the decision to place her under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Yes, sir, we will.
As officers attempted to place her in handcuffs, she attempted to pull away several times.
Yeah.
She just want to make sure she's not too tight on you.
You guys think I deserve to be arrested right now?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Yes!
Do you think I deserve to be arrested right now?
And the sad thing is it's only 9:23 at night on this body cam of the cop. 9:23 in the evening. It is way too early to be this fucking drunk.
I don't know. What am I being charged
You've
with?
been arrested for disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct? Oh, white girl, I don't want to go.
Guess what? You are tonight.
Discrimination.
I need your matter. Ouch. This hurts. This hurts.
Appreciate it.
When they walked her to her car, Karen was not cooperative and voluntarily giving up of anything.
I know you're talking about you.
I need you to put that wallet in my
Yep,
purse.
I'm gonna carry it all the way over there. Okay? Just like
No,
this.
I want you to put it in my purse.
Well, let's go and then we'll make it happen, okay? Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere.
And now she's dropped down, trying to make him drag her.
Easy to walk.
She's trying to lay down.
Is there a reason why you're doing this, Christina?
Yeah.
Here we go.
And welcome to the drunk maiden carrying call.
Please walk. Please walk.
No, why?
Can we walk over here,
This
please?
is nice. You're not gonna kill me. You're gonna drag me over.
No, we didn't drag you, ma'am.
That hurt.
Yeah.
I have blood.
Karen, you're the one that laid down on the concrete sidewalk. picking up her slippers in her purse.
Show somebody right in front of us.
Yeah, she's being uncooperative, Your Honor.
Christy, can you please sit in there?
No.
We're trying to be decent.
No, I
please.
can't. You're not being decent.
Please.
You've been here
Please
forever and you know Tim.
I do know Tim.
Yeah, I can't
But
believe
that doesn't have anything to do with
Yeah,
race.
it does. I didn't do anything.
You are drunk beyond fucking belief.
Hey, man.
Probably be on that night.
Yeah.
Got like $4 and her lighter, so I'll see you over there.
Yeah, we'll go grab those.
Anything else over there?
I picked it all up.
Meanwhile, over at the police station, just a little later, when Cabot was turned over to jail staff, she was physically resistive with them and needed to be immediately taken into intake.
Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine.
That metal sound you heard was the cop locking up their gun, which they do when they go into jail.
Christy Cabot. She's not real cooperative. She wants to sit in she's not resistant. She just wants to sit in the squad cars with it. Force her in there. So. Yeah.
You said Christy, right?
Yeah.
Christy.
Yeah, she's drunk. And she's still trying to do the limp walk.
You're trying to You guys are really hurting me. What are you doing?
Trying to get your ass in jail.
Fucking violent. Can I breathe? Whatever this is, I'm not.
We're gonna go back.
You can let go.
No, we cannot let go because you're going to jail. And you're refusing to stand to walk.
I need the bonus too for your birth. What is it? Going into that. Give me all that.
Put her in a wheelchair and now she's still fighting in the chair.
Thank you.
Kraft was charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest.
We'll be back, Nick. We'll be back.
But I know they're not made for comfort, man. At least they're being cooperative, though, so you don't gotta go through that. Fair enough, man.
That's a different person in jail talking.
They're not built for comfort, brother.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, over at Code Blue Cam. We thank you for the Karen. Alright, let's see if we can find a quick Judge Judy hyper case. If we can, we'll do that. If not, we will just let it go after this last fight in the Grand Arena. If we can get that battle to load. Let's see, video. I mean, audio. We could do a quickie. If you're ever going to be in front of the judge, make sure you have some evidence.
I don't want you to show me the flooring. I want you to show me everything else that's brand new. I want you to see
all your photos.
No. I want to see paid bills that everything is brand new.
That contractor did everything new.
Listen to me.
We don't have it.
You don't have it.
No.
Because I looked at the pictures. That's not brand new. That apartment is not brand new.
No, we never said the entire apartment was brand new.
I didn't ask you to say a word. The apartment was not brand new based on the photographs that you showed me.
Okay.
So what you just said to me was not true. I don't want you to show me the flooring. I want you to show me everything else that's brand new. I want you to see
all your photos.
And do we have one more? Yep. One more quickie while we finish taking a look real quick.
Clarify something, Your Honor.
Sure.
I'm a black belt in karate. If I had tried to hurt this man, he wouldn't be here right now.
Mr. Moorhead,
I didn't
what
try to hurt him.
what you just said to me doesn't necessarily help your case.
Clarify something, Your Honor.
Sure.
I'm a black belt.
Quiet.
In karate.
You already said that once. Alright, so as that, we'll leave this to a case. Make sure you do join us for the overnight, where Art Bell will continue to rock and roll with the alien abductions. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Be kind to one another. And release the Kregans as we continually march on to the promised land that is known as From Day One. Till then, have a great evening. We'll see you in the overnight.